Imagine how beautiful Minnesota used to be back in the 1800s before the whites came. About 40% of it was incredible prairie, and the other 60% was magnificent forests. In the foreground, you can see what used to be the prairie, now farmland, but rising up in the background, you can see the remaining remnants of the big woods, located near the town of Nerstrand, Minnesota. Although 60% of Minnesota was covered with forests, there was definitely something special about the big woods. It was full of sugar maple trees, basswood, oak, hickory, aspen, elm, ash, and ironwood trees. It was teeming with game: deer, bear, wolf, elk, beaver, fox, bison, muskrats, ducks, geese. It was a woodland paradise. And the prairie land, it stretched on and on over the horizon. This is Minnesota farmland these days. You can kind of see how flat it is, what the prairie must have looked like. But those trees out there, primarily planted by farmers as windbreaks. This is Kaler Prairie State Preserve, just to the west of Okoboji in Iowa. And here you can see prairie grass as it existed in the 1800s. And it's long grass prairie. Sometimes this grass could get as tall as a horse. And this is what the prairie would have looked like in both Minnesota and Iowa. Far as the eye could see, very few trees except along rivers or maybe a lake. Imagine the thunder and the ground shaking as huge herds of buffalo ran through this grass. This was the world Inkpaduta had waiting for him when his Dakota Sioux mother gave birth to him in 1815 on the shores of the Cannon Lake near the edge of the big woods just west of current-day Faribault, Minnesota. And by the time he reached the age of 36, all of it, the big woods, the prairie, the forest land, all of it would be gone, taken from Inkpaduta and his people by the whites. Inkpaduta was a member of the Sioux tribe. The Sioux were probably the largest and oldest tribe in North America. They dated back some 3,000 years. The Sioux started in what is now the state of Minnesota. But several hundred years ago, the Sioux expanded into the northern plains and separated into three tribal divisions: the Dakota, the Nakota, and the Lakota. The Lakota ended up to the far west of the Missouri in North and South Dakota, as well as Wyoming and northern Nebraska. They had a plains culture, which revolved around the use of horses. Those old movies where the Indians are surrounding and attacking the wagon train on horseback, that would probably be the Dakota Sioux. Also, they had 7 different bands. You've already met a couple, the Minneconjou. High Forehead, you remember him outside of Laramie, killed and ate the cow, which caused the Groton fight, as well as the Brule, the tribe that was there at Fort Laramie and was involved in destroying the Groton command. Also, the Brule were victims of the Harney Massacre a year later in Nebraska. The second Sioux division or group, the Nakota, moved from Minnesota to the eastern part of North and South Dakota, east of the Missouri River. Like the Nakota adopted a plains culture or a horse culture. The Nakota had 2 bands, the Yankton and the Yanktonais. Abby Gardner would get to know the Yankton well. She was still just 13 years old when she was purchased by a Yankton warrior. And then the third group, or division of the Sioux, and actually the original group, is the group I'm calling the Dakota. They were also known as the Santee, and they stayed in Minnesota and northern Iowa. They were not a plains culture or a horse culture. Most of their movement was on foot, including warfare. The Dakota Sioux had 4 bands. Inkpaduta was born into one of those bands, the Wapakudi, a small band consisting of maybe 600 members by the mid-1800s. But they were aggressive. They pushed the Sac and Fox tribes out of Iowa. We could spend an awful lot of time talking about the Dakota Sioux, their religion, their habits, their origins, their governmental structures. But we're here to talk about the why of what happened to Abby Gardner. So I just want to tell you 3 things about the Dakota Sioux. First, the Dakota Sioux were nomads. They moved from one location to the other. In the summer, they would be out on the plains hunting buffalo. In the winter, they would be in the big woods area or other forested areas where they could hunt deer. That was their way of life. The Dakota kept on the move not only for food, but also for safety, to find a secure place to stay during the harsh winter months. For example, it would not have been unusual for Inkpaduta's Wapakudi band to move from somewhere in Minnesota or Iowa to the Spirit Lake area in northern Iowa, an area that the Dakota considered to be sacred. If you take their territory, the ability for them to move around, or the game, you would destroy their culture. The second thing you should know is that the Dakota Sioux was a warrior society. They were always in a constant state of war, or at least the risk of war was always there. Boys were brought up from a young age to learn how to fight. If you were a male member of the Dakota Sioux, that's who you were. You were a warrior. And the fighting could be brutal. In the year 1828, when Inkpaduta was only 13 years old, he and his father, Wamdasapa, and the other men in the Wapakudi band left to go hunting. When they returned, they found that the Sac and Fox tribe had attacked their village and massacred many of the people. They severed the head of one of Wamdasapi's wives, tore her body up, and threw it in the river. Inkpaduta saw all of that, and there was going to have to be revenge. To the Dakota, all war was considered defensive, necessary to protect their territory, stop trespassers, and avenge an attack on their people. Revenge raids were the most common, and when that happened, women and children, they were fair game. The third thing that I wanted you to know about the Dakota people might surprise you, given what you're going to hear about them in the rest of this story. But they were very kind and loving people, at least to their people. They doted on their children. They took care of older and disabled people within their tribe. They had a very close communal relationship with one another and a strong regard for the safety and the welfare of the people in the tribe. They shared with people, and they had a very strong sense of native identity as well as superiority. And I'll leave you with this one last very rare photograph, my favorite actually. Yes, they could be happy and they could smile too.